Hello and welcome to another video from ParaPlaysVR, and in this video I'm going to be showcasing 4 or 5 of the current generation games that I think are going to be absolutely fantastic on VR. Games that I've always wished I could drive, fly, shoot. These are the sort of games that really virtual reality is made for. And out of my current library of games that I have currently in Steam and Uplay and all the other things, I went through and just had a quick look and thought, are these games in here ones I really want to jump in and play in VR, and will it add something? And here's my list of games I cannot wait to turn the Vive on and immerse myself completely. The first game on my list is from one of my old channels, the PC Sim Games channel, and I really had forgotten how beautiful this game is. I haven't played Elite Dangerous for a long time. I have been looking a lot at Star Citizen, and this game kind of got pushed to the wayside. And a lot of people consider this to be the space version of Euro Truck Simulator. And I don't know what it is about this game, there was just something I just couldn't quite get into this game enough. I can't really put my finger on why that is, but from looking around on reviews and people who've actually tried this with the DK2, they've said the game is absolutely incredible. The fact that you can actually sit in your cockpit, feel completely immersed. The actual virtual reality apparently makes the scale beyond words. You don't really get a sense of this when you're actually playing on a flat screen. And I get the feeling that once you actually jump into VR with this, you're certainly not going to want to play it any other way. Now, because VR is on the horizon and we know it's going to be a big thing, a complete game changer, the actual developers of this game have created a complete reversion of the game that's actually going to be available for free if you have the game already. So once you get the Vive and the Oculus Rift and they're out in the general public domain, you'll be able to go to a website, their website, and they will give you a key in order to be able to download a special version of the game, the entire game, so you can play it in VR. This is going to be absolutely so immersive when you've got your headphones on, volume cranked up, you're out deep in space, and I think this definitely will help shift a lot of copies of this game because it just screams out for virtual reality. As there are lots of backgrounds that are black and not a lot of detail out in the zone past your peripheral vision, this should really help to keep the game above 90 frames a second, and hopefully that isn't going to push our hardware too hard when it comes to actually playing this in virtual reality on the Oculus or the HTC Vive. So number 1 on my list is Elite Dangerous. Second game on my list is going to be Assetto Corsa. Now, I did enjoy Assetto Corsa, but when Project Cars came out, I actually jumped ship over to Project Cars. But I think a lot of this was to do with the fact that I was actually playing with a 360 pad, and when Project Cars came out, I actually bought the steering wheel. So I do remember this game was extremely sim heavy. Very, very enjoyable game if you're into your sim games. And these sort of games, these racing games, really are made another perfect example for virtual reality. Being able to be actually in these cars is going to make the excitement of racing with these graphics incredible. And we know that the developers have already said that according to their online research, people who've been playing with the DK2 test kit, their times have actually improved, and statistically people who are using the virtual reality headsets have been working their way up the leaderboards. This may be because you're more aware of where you are, where the other vehicles are, or your driving lines. It's a lot easier to see, and the immersion factor of this is just going to be absolutely incredible. So that's why number 2 on my list is going to be Assetto Corsa. If, and it's a big if, this game ever sees the light of day, yes, I'm talking about Star Citizen. All that money and what we got, glorified demo. Anyway, I digress. Yes, this is another game that's going to be very highly on my list for VR, which is a current gen game. Or is it a current gen game? As the game's not actually released and we don't actually know whether they are going to be supporting VR. We do know there are plugins out at the minute that forces it into a pseudo VR reality version. I think the VR was definitely on the list because I am actually a backer for this game, Star Citizen. VR is on the list at some point further down the line once we actually get a little bit further to release and the PTU is updated. But this game is another game, like the previous games we've discussed, that just needs virtual reality. Because already we can walk around the cockpits and the areas on the front of our ships and get out and walk onto planets and things like that. And if this is going to be available to do in virtual reality with these really cutting edge graphics, and this is just going to be... people are actually going to lose their minds in this game. It was one thing that slightly worries me about VR. Can you switch off when it comes to this sort of thing? So another game that's absolutely screaming out for virtual reality, and a game I'm sure when my Vive arrives I will be doing some reviews on. Another video here from one of my previous channels, a video I created just to show the beauty of Euro Truck Simulator 2. It really is a beautiful game. Here you can see I'm using the actual admin cam. Now this is another game that I cannot wait to try in virtual reality. In fact, this may even push it into the #1 spot for me. Being able to sit in your cab, looking around and seeing the cab, it is just going to be absolutely... oh, I cannot wait. I really cannot wait. And yet to people who haven't played this game, it's very hard to describe what is enjoyable about this game because there's not really a huge amount of things to do. You get a job, you pick up the freight, you drive, you drop it off, and that's it. It's not like there's more to it. Sure, there's the job aspect and taking on other drivers and all that sort of thing. And I have tried the game with track IR, but for me I have an eye injury, so it makes it extremely difficult when I'm turning to be able to look at the screen properly, and it causes me problems, so I have actually not been using the track IR. Things such as using the 360 pad, which I now do, as I haven't got my wheel set up just yet. I will be getting the wheel back out because it totally transformed this game into epicness with a proper steering wheel and a gear stick. But having to look over at your mirrors by moving it over slightly, and it just kills that immersion. And if you can get that feeling of actually being in that cab and getting that, oh, I can't wait. This really is a game that I come back to again and again and again, and I play in multiplayer with my friends and we love it. So this is going to be #2 on my list, Euro Truck Simulator 2. #1 on my list of games I currently own that I honestly believe virtual reality will take it to the next level is Project Cars. Now I used to be in a Project Cars club, a league, which was just for players to join, and we set our own leagues up for clean drivers, and it was amazing. And I moved on to other things at the time, and they're still running, and having a wheel and playing this game was amazing. I always played behind the wheel, such as this, and again, looking in your mirrors and looking behind, you could flick a button and it would click over. But being able to actually feel as though you're in the vehicle, being able to look at your mirrors, look behind you, look over your shoulders, is just... this game's graphics are amazing, and the developers have already said that they've created a technique to blur out the distance slightly lower res so that they can keep beautiful graphics like this at 90 frames a second. And you know what? I can't bloody wait. Now before we wrap up this video, here's 3 more games I think would be fantastic in virtual reality, and these are all games that I currently own and play a lot of. The first one is Subnautica. Now if you haven't played this game, think of this as the Ark or a survival game collecting resources, but it's all based underwater, and the graphics are fantastic. There's a lot to do. It's single player, although they may be adding multiplayer at some point. The game really is enjoyable. Floating around under the water, in there with all the reeds and the animal life and everything else, and you create biodomes and jetpacks and all this sort of stuff. It really is a brilliant game. So if you haven't tried Subnautica, have a look at it. It really will be a great game in virtual reality. Next on my list is Farming Simulator. And now this is another game. I've actually got a private server running, and a lot of the lads I used to play Armour with and things like that, we started playing this game. It's another one of those games where if you try and tell somebody what you actually do in your farming, they think you're ridiculous, they think you're mental. But there is something about this game because it is pure team play. When you get lots of fields and different crops, everything needs doing: spraying, collecting, baling, looking after the animals. You name it, fetching trailers. There's so much to do in this game, and there's a massive modding community. And it's another game where every time we've played this game and you're in your vehicle, every one of us has said this would be amazing in virtual reality, because again, you're sat in the cockpit of the harvester or the tractor and things like that, and that already is in game, but you have to use your left stick to, sort of slowly look left or right. So this game again is another game that's going to be amazing in virtual reality. And lastly but not least is another underwater game. This is World of Diving. This is another game that I got on early access on Steam, and it's another game where it's actually a lot more enjoyable than you would think it is. And luckily for this game, there is multiplayer. At the time when I actually started playing this and doing a review and going through the game, there wasn't a huge amount of content in there. It was find the pearls, find the keys, and then they started releasing things like the Bismarck, which was created at 1:1. Graphics are really good as you get further down into the water. Even got 3D breasts, perfect. Lots of modifications and things like that, but it really is the experience of swimming underwater. And even when you swim backwards, you can see your legs. And it's another one of those games where I think, because there is a slow movement throughout the game, playing this in virtual reality is not going to be one of those games that makes you feel sick. And given the opportunity, I certainly will, pardon the pun, dive in. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll come to the end of this. This has been my current gen of games that I currently own. I can't wait to try in VR. See you in the next video. Bye bye.